It's Missing Real with Mike Darrigo. Sorry. It's a kind of magic.
Welcome back to Missing Real, and this is a special episode. Woo! Yeah. Oh, you already know I have a guest. Yeah, he just spoiled it for you. Yeah, I have a guest today. We'll get to him shortly. But I want to welcome everyone back and tell you today's special episode is done in part as a tribute to the legend Sean Connery, who we recently lost. And I want to commemorate him with one of his not-so-appreciated films. And in order to talk about it properly, I couldn't do it alone. Partners. I believe you cannot run a podcast without partners. So here's my favorite podcast partner, Dave Chan. Welcome back, pal.
Hey, thanks, Mike. That was really good Ironside impression.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there'll be lots more of that.
That was great.
There are going to be some more Ironsides for sure.
There's more. Okay.
Yeah, well, actually, I wasn't even trying there. You just wait and see. It's gonna be great.
Okay.
It's great. So here we are in your studio in glorious Park Slope, Brooklyn, as opposed to glorious bathroom Forest Hills, where I usually record. So this is good. Hopefully you listeners are having a nice, soothing audio experience here.
And it's just as cramped as your bathroom.
Essentially. Well, no, this is pretty spacious. Man.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
There's echoes and stuff. So welcome back. Here we are hanging out in Brooklyn, and we're going to talk about Highlander 2, The Quickening. But it's not called The Quickening anymore because it's just too confusing. You know, just Highlander 2 should speak enough about what this movie is all about. We remember Highlander 2, don't we? Very fondly from 1991, right? 1991 was a very good year, at least until this movie came out. Did you see Highlander 2 during its second smash week in the theaters?
No, absolutely not.
Because that was the advertising campaign back then. You know, you see this little tiny 1-inch square ad in the newspaper, second smash week. Like, it's doing so well.
We're even surprised.
I was smashed when I saw it, too. And Roger Ebert called it the worst movie of 91. So, of course, you know, that puts me right in front of the queue. I got to go see it now.
Yeah. No, I saw this, I think, on VHS, probably.
VHS, yes. That antiquated format, which now we have Blu-rays and DVDs. And we just watched it, actually, less than half an hour ago. So it's fresh in our minds.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll leave as quickly as like a bad burrito.
Yeah, no, but before we forget everything, you know, I wrote some notes down about Highlander 2, both before and after viewing it, because there's just a lot of fascinating shit behind the scenes.
Yes. Like,
that it got made in the first place is in itself a mystery, but it got made. Why did it get made? It had a shit script, really. It had different writers, you know, not really like... all the writing team and screenplay and stuff, it was kind of all new people. And like, while they kind of stuck with the characters because they have to, it had a horrible script and nobody in the cast really wanted to do this movie. And
really?
it was really for the money.
Is that right?
That's kind of true, yeah. A lot of people hated the whole production. And Connery, well, let's talk about Sean Connery, the great, Sir yes. Sean. He did the movie and he really didn't need to be in the movie. Of course, since his character dies in the first Highlander, of course, you got flashbacks and stuff, but the only reason Connery was in the movie was because him and Lambert became such good pals during the first film that Lambert was going to like back out of the whole production if Sean Connery wasn't involved. So he got him in. You know, and Sean Connery cashed in, made a nice hefty $3.5 million for 9 days of work, and
kidding.
Donated it all to charity. I think there's like a charity for people who had to watch Highlander 2 during its opening
amazing.
week. And yeah, he was quite a philanthropist, you know.
Oh, wow.
Good man. So that was why it was made. And even the director, Russell Mulcahy, who directed the first Highlander, hated this theatrical cut so much that he walked out 15 minutes into the premiere.
It was his own movie.
Everybody hated this movie. He wanted to be listed as Alan Smithy. It was so bad. That's like, you know, the old directors who want to disown their films will put their name in the credits as Alan Smithy.
Wait a second.
Whenever you see that name, it's a piece of shit movie that the director really wanted to disown.
Wait, so he was in the editing room.
He might have been.
Sure.
I'm not sure. He might have been edited from the editing process.
He didn't see it until like everyone in the audience saw it.
It was the damn studio, man. This Argentina studio
that would suck.
that kind of like got involved with it so much because there was a lot of inflation in Argentina, and they just took over and they wanted to make the movie they thought would make the most money.
Oh, I see.
And in hindsight, that wasn't the greatest idea.
No.
I think they only made the money that I spent on buying the DVD twice.
Anything driven by money is going to most likely turn out to be shit.
Damn capitalism. Never works with art, does it? But all right, so Highlander 2 does get made. The storyline is kind of preposterous because it's not really it could have been a prequel to Highlander, but instead it's a sequel, and we kind of learn what happens after MacLeod becomes human. For those of you who don't know what the fuck we're talking about, please revisit my earlier podcast episode with Mr. Chan right here, or watch Highlander, the first Highlander, which makes very little sense, but we're here to help you with that. But Highlander 2 makes like a negative amount of sense. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to sort it, but Highlander 2. It follows Highlander in that Connor MacLeod is now immortal, and the prize that he won by chopping all those heads off in the first movie is that he has the knowledge and the thoughts of everyone else on the planet. He can hear them. It's like a really intense form of schizophrenia or, multiple personality disorder, and it would probably drive you mad. But instead, it drives him to be creative and collaborate with world leaders and build the shield.
Yes.
It's this thing that protects the Earth from the rays of the sun, because our ozone layer is just completely depleted.
Without Sam Jackson.
Without Sam Jackson, right? And none of the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Coulson, forget it. We don't need him either.
No, they dusted away.
That's right. So they got a shield over the Earth now, and like this movie more or less becomes a science fiction movie rather than like a sword and Scotsman kind of movie, which the first one was a lot more like, and just a lot more fights and battles, and now it's like sci-fi, and it opens up with this like opera building, and MacLeod is really old. He's got this very old age makeup done by Greg Kamen, who does a lot of good work, but I don't know if MacLeod's old age makeup is any good, and his old age voice is really bad.
Like, This is the Brando and the Godfather with a feather down his throat. You kids get off of my lawn!
It's horrible, man. I mean, Lambert's got a pretty scratchy voice to begin with, but at least it's a fun scratchy voice that we really love. So I don't know if this is him coming up with a voice for his character or whatever. Maybe it's fixed in post, but it's pretty bad. I don't like it. So he's a really old guy in an opera house, and we see the opening credits of this movie. Oh, and by the way, Highlander 2 does suffer some from not having Queen as its primary soundtrack. It's like now Queen has kind of been demoted to the jukebox.
Yeah,
in one scene where MacLeod plunks a couple of quarters in and he hears it. I got the magic.
Well, yeah. I mean,
one of those golden oldies.
They paid Connery all that money. They couldn't afford the rights.
Couldn't afford Queen.
Yeah.
But sadly, when this movie was released, as if it wasn't depressing enough, that was also the same month that Freddie Mercury passed away. So it would have been a great tribute to Queen if they had them in the movie again, but the movie didn't blow.
Right.
Yeah, Highlander 2 opens up, and the music is not by Queen. It's not even by Marillion. As you told me, the first movie was like they were kind of like, courting Marillion to do the music for this film, and most people haven't even heard of Marillion.
Right. I haven't heard of it.
I've heard of Marillion. I've been a big fan of them. Not with the Fish-fronted albums, but with that other guy, Steve Hogwarts. They're pretty good. They're very proggy, kind of Pink Floyd-y. And the only good music in this movie, other than Stuart Copeland, our police drummer, who I can't really tell it's even him. I mean, he can do music. He did, I think, Rumblefish and some other films, but wrote some great police songs that I love. But for Highlander 2, it's kind of like whatever. It's just music in there. I don't know. It just shows up. And there's a really good song at the end of the movie by Lou Gramm from Foreigner. It plays during the end credits, and it's like one of those weird songs that's like him without Foreigner. Kind of like the only other time he did that was in The Lost Boys.
Oh yeah, he did that?
He did the Lost Boys soundtrack. Yes, you remember that song?
I forgot how it goes.
It goes, sail on to the night, lost boys lost in the shadows. Something like that. It goes on and on and on. It's a good song.
Excellent.
I'm sure that he could do it better now. But, so that's the soundtrack of Highlander 2, and we're in the movie now, and Lambert is sitting in the balcony of some opera house, watching this opera, and they're singing about battles and stuff, and across the way is his buddy, some doctor guy that helped him build the shield, and they're like looking at the auditorium across from each other with like binoculars. I guess, he couldn't get StubHub and get two adjoining seats for the show.
No, hey, it's rough in the dystopian future.
The dystopia is supposed to be, 2025?
2024.
2024, yeah, like it's almost around the corner here.
Yeah.
We're going to be subjected to these crappy operas underneath an ozone shield.
Gotta get working on that shield, Mike.
But wait, didn't we get our ozone back? Didn't it kind of grow back?
Oh, you gave away the movie.
I don't know. I mean, in our real world, not in this Highlander 2 fantasy bull. I'm talking about, the real, maybe we stopped using so much hairspray, the 80s were over, and maybe there's still, a lot of emissions, but now we got Teslas and
cow farts.
And things like that. Yeah, we can survive, man. We may all live as old as MacLeod someday. Yeah, hopefully not. Well, at least I don't want to sound like him when I get that old.
Okay, Mike.
Even the real Christophe Lambert at this age now, he sounds way better than the old MacLeod in the movie. But I guess the old MacLeod must be really old.
Have you heard him talk at all?
I don't know.
Has he been
I haven't heard him speak much, but he's still doing films and television. He said he's still out there, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
He's on Facebook, too, yeah.
He's on Facebook.
He is on Facebook. Why not, right?
Yeah.
He can use it. He learned after all these years, He sells antiques on Facebook. Yeah. Well, he's watching the opera, and he's having these flashbacks of what his life was like before. Like, he remembers that he was a Highlander, except the memories he's having now are not of Scotland. They're of some other realm. It looks like Arrakis from Dune. And if you saw this movie when it first came out, it's the planet Zeist. So they had to sort of like filter out some of the bullshit later on and recut the movie. So it's not really Zeist anymore. Even though, the first time we see Sean Connery in the movie, he's like, free men of the planet Zeist. But instead he just goes, free men of the planet. And they cut the Zeist part out.
I didn't really notice that this time around.
Right, it doesn't say Zeist. They're not from Zeist. They're not even from Zardoz.
Zeist, the zeitgeist of Zeist.
Zeitgeist, right. So they're just a planet. It looks like Arrakis, though. It's like all sandy and stuff. So he just rallies up all these people, and he points to one of them that's like going to be an immortal. And this is supposed to be way, way before Highlander, like before they meet in Scotland. In the first Highlander movie, this is like some other timeline, and he points out MacLeod, and like they look at each other, and they dip their fingers in this little bowl of oil, and they start pointing, and this little lightning shit comes out. It's like the Quickening oil. I don't know. You buy it at Sephora or something. I don't know. And they zap each other.
I thought they were going to finger paint each other's faces.
They kind of did. He's kind of like, I'm drawing my initials on your forehead, so now we are joined.
But he actually put loser.
Right, he draws this backwards L on his face. Hey, what did you do? Oh, I don't know. Go look in the mirror.
Joke's on you.
That's not funny. Something like that. So they're joined, something like that. So all you need to do is call my name. I will always find you, even if I'm dead. It's like that just explains the whole movie, right? Like, yeah, he can't die. And if he does die, he'll still come back and hang out with you if you call his name.
But you know what? He has all this power to come back from the dead. He can't land in the same city.
No. You just get dropped off wherever you're freaking...
That's bullshit.
Quickening Uber drops you. It is bullshit. No, but he lands in a cool place.
It's not Uber. It's the other app.
It's
where you got to walk like 4 blocks to get your car.
Zeist rides. I don't know. Zeistless. So you just get dropped off wherever, but that comes later too. Who else is in this movie? I mean, we already know about Christopher Lambert and Sean Connery. They're like legends. We love them. We talked about them last time. So who else is in the movie that's new? We got Virginia Madsen as the love interest. Virginia Madsen, sister of Michael Madsen, so don't try to pick her up or you might get your ear chopped off.
Yep.
She was in music videos in the 80s, including those from Kenny Loggins and Depeche Mode.
Yep.
And then she was in Dune as the face that fades out into space.
Oh, that was probably the most epic role.
She was great in that, at least from the neck up. And then she was in Candyman. We get to see everything else of hers, and she's great in that movie. She's in The Prophecy with Christopher Walken. She's in Sideways with all those wines.
Oh, man, Sideways. Great movie.
Very terrific movie, right?
Yeah.
And this is some great trivia about Virginia Madsen. She auditioned for the role of Heather in the first Highlander.
Oh, wow.
And she didn't get it. And they were considering Sharon Stone to play her character in this movie. But
as punishment,
I guess
they
she didn't.
cast her in this one.
That's right, yeah. Couldn't be in the first Highlander, right? And be like legendary. Now you'd be in this one. It'd be an embarrassment. Sorry. But who else is in this movie that's cool? How do you top the Kurgan? How do you top Clancy Brown? You can't, right?
How do you top Clancy Brown, Mike?
You don't. Well, you try anyway. You get another, great iconic baddie of the screen. My favorite Canadian, who's not in Rush, Michael Ironside, who's also, I just learned this too. His name's not Michael Ironside. His name is Frederick Reginald Ironside. I mean, because Michael is such a menacing name, I would take that too. But Ironside, that's all you really need, right? You could be like Floyd Ironside.
Yeah. And
people will still be like, oh shit, man. They back off when they hear your name. They tremble in their boots.
Yeah, should have just called himself Ironside.
Yeah, or Iron Man.
Like Madonna.
Yeah. Man, Ironside's great, man. Some more background about him, because I didn't know this until today either. He was a teen arm wrestling champion, whatever that earned you. Yeah. He did like the very first version of Over the Top before Stallone even thought of it.
That's awesome.
He was a playwright also, and he won like this Canada-wide university contest for a play at age 15.
Wow, cool. So he's from Canada.
Yeah, and he's a writer. You should be inspired already, man.
Yeah, that's great.
Dave Ironside. He was also a roofer and a construction guy.
Roofer. Like he used to
he gave
women?
people roofies, while he was building houses, just to get people to make everyone else pass out.
Now, like his drugs would roofie you, and you would help him build his roof
when you woke up.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't think it really works like that.
Oh, sorry.
Something else about him too. He almost played RoboCop, but he wouldn't fit the costume.
Oh, shit.
Like, he was too bulky, I guess. Peter Weller was more scrawny. I don't really know. But it's okay, because he did a whole bunch of other movies with Paul Verhoeven following that. Mm-hmm. No, a really great story about Michael Ironside. On the set of Total Recall, this was really, really cool. Michael Ironside used to smoke like a chimney. He was diagnosed with cancer a couple of times. He beat it both times. He has a sister who had cancer, and he was like always on the phone between takes while making Total Recall. So one time Arnold was asking him, "Why are you always on the phone, Michael?" And like he told him, like, and Arnold brought him into his trailer, and they had like a three-way phone conversation with the sister, and Arnold was like giving her a lot of health tips and things she could do for her diet and to help, get her through. And I think it helped, So Ironside was eternally grateful to Arnold after that, even though he ripped his arms off before the party. It's like, I forgive him for that, It's okay. Yeah, Ironside usually loses his arms in a lot of movies. That's another thing. He's usually amputated quite often. But he's awesome. He prefers playing bad guys because good guys get beaten up several times in a film, and a bad guy only gets beaten up once at the end.
Oh, okay.
It's a great philosophy, right? If you don't want to get your ass kicked on film too much, you just play a bad guy.
Right.
But when you get your ass kicked, that's the end of your ass. But you're more memorable. I don't know. I like villains. Villains are good.
Villains are awesome.
You can't have a good guy without a bad guy. There is no
villain.
Right?
It's amazing.
Usually. And Highlander movies usually have good villains, but they get stupider as you go along. This Katana was like a pale imitation of the Kurgan.
Well, they kind of fit the same model as the Kurgan. Yeah, unfortunately.
I guess.
Yeah.
But none of his lines really resonated the same way. I mean, there were a few good ones, but ashes to ashes, dust to dust. If you don't take it out and use it, it's going to rust. Well, thank you, Michael Ironside, but I usually hear that enough from my wife. You say it a lot better. Here's Highlander 2 podcast for you now. So, one more crazy, interesting addition to the cast. John C. McGinley, who you probably watched on Scrubs a bunch of times, right?
Yeah, he was great.
He is, but he's completely off the wall in this movie. I don't know where he got these acting lessons or whatever he is, but he was in a lot of Oliver Stone movies, starting with Platoon in '86. And he also owned a Midtown restaurant called Match with Willem Dafoe. Never ate there, but I'd be afraid to probably. Like, are you enjoying your meal? Do you like your food? I'll get John C. over here to scrub it for you if it's not tasty enough. And also, John C. McGinley, he was in Office Space, and his character really liked Michael Bolton. I think he ad-libbed most of the shit. So he must really have a great love of Michael Bolton.
He was so good in Office Space, yeah.
Well, pretty much everybody was. It was awesome. And of course, now he's on Stand Against Evil. Another great show that I don't watch, but I know it's cool. It's like I just want to plug it for whatever, in case any Stand Against Evil fans are out there that want to watch it, and they're tired of Ash vs. Evil Dead.
I never saw it.
Well, me neither. So yeah, there's something for us all. We could all watch it now. But we should talk about Highlander too, even though I know we're trying to avoid it, but you can't. It's our destiny to talk about Highlander too. So there's no Planet Zeist, but MacLeod and Ramirez, for the moment, they get conquered by Ironside and his goons. Katana. He exiles them, and they get sent off into like other times. And I guess that's why we have Highlander 1. It never really is properly explained. But yeah, MacLeod's really old. Ironside can't wait to kill MacLeod. He can't wait for him to die of natural causes, so he's pissed. And he sends these two really ridiculously dumbass assassins to kill him. One is like, MacLeod! And the other one cackles like a hyena all the time. And they're pretty much useless. But they try to kill MacLeod. They show up in whatever time MacLeod is living in this Gotham City kind of place after the opera. And they're on these little hoverboard Back to the Future, Batman, Green Goblin kind of hoverboards.
Porcupine Brothers.
Flying around on these things. Yeah, they are. They're like the idiot brothers of the Matrix twins. They're like, but they have no special powers except that they could fly these little skateboard things, which are on cables anyway. You could see the wires in almost every shot, except for like the cleaned up recent editions of Highlander 2. I think they painted them out or CG'd them out. But these wires are important because they were done by the same team that did the Superman flying effects in 1978's Christopher Reeve's Superman. So if you could believe that you see Christopher Reeve flying around, this should look, completely effortless.
I like the first Superman.
I don't remember seeing cables on him.
Not at all.
No.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they were there. Probably pulling his nuts up.
No.
Yeah.
There's no cables. He was really flying.
He was really from Krypton. All right. Well, when I was a kid, I believed that shit. I was like, there's no cables. And even if I saw cables, like, why don't they clean up the film? What's that line doing there? He's flying. So these guys try to kill MacLeod, and of course he finds some clever ways to decapitate them. He doesn't have a sword yet, so he uses a wire, and he uses the wheels of a train that just happens to be rolling down the street. They have like a trolley going down the street, and he just happens to get this guy to land right there with his neck in the way, so the wheel just severs his head, and he gets the old quickening back again, this lightning that zaps him, and the quickening is cool this time because it actually walks towards him and it just grabs him like a hand. And then the lightning goes off and the cans start popping and hubcaps start flying. And, you know, a lot of mechanics make a lot of extra money that week, you know. It's great. And then he wakes up out of this quickening and he's not an old man anymore. He's young again. He just gets back to his old Highlander age when he was, you know, in the first movie. And Virginia Madsen is spying on him because she's trying to meet up with him. You know, she's like some organization that's trying to find out that the shield is not needed anymore and the ozone layer is repaired and it's a big conspiracy, and she's with some organization that wants to take down the shield and return the world to normalcy again.
Yeah, Cobalt.
Right, Cobalt. Cool name for an organization. So yeah, Virginia Madsen is spying on MacLeod and she sees him in the street there and she's trying to nag him a bunch, and then he has the big fight with those guys. He kills the guys and he wakes up and he's like, you know, 30, 40 years younger, almost the proper age to have sex with her, and that's pretty much what happens right after the quickening. He's like, takes her up against the wall, they introduce each other, and then boom, fuck, in the alley, getting right to it, you know, it's been a long time for him, I guess. And that's it. From this point forward, they're like inseparable for the entire movie. Right. She just like crashes at his pad.
And then it's like, who's taking over the terrorist organization?
I don't know. Like, she's completely out of touch with him for days. She's just like hanging out on MacLeod's couch, talking about his history, reading his old diary from 500 years ago, looking at his old wives and things, and learning about Ramirez. He talks about him. And, of course, during his fights and during his quickenings, he goes, Ramirez, my old friend, Ramirez. And we get Sean Connery back in the movie just like that. All you got to do is wish for him, and he appears.
That's right. But he'll appear like across the ocean, though.
Somewhere, yeah. Well, he lands in the most perfect place of all, Scotland, during a production of Shakespeare, of Hamlet, which he interrupts.
Yes.
You know, what's your fucking game, shithead? Shithead? What's a shithead? He has a great scene there, and he walks out with a sword, which I think is real. It was just a stage prop, but he gets his first sword.
It looks real.
He steals it from Hamlet, poor guy. But at least Hamlet gets to keep the skull, you know, and talk to it. So yeah, Connery gets a suit of clothes. You know, he goes to the best tailor in Scotland and gets a suit of clothes and some cigars and some single malt. Things like that. It's a great scene. And then he gets on a plane and he flies, and eventually he's going to get to MacLeod, but it takes like forever. So meanwhile, like, you know, Lambert is busy talking to all of his friends and the SHIELD Corporation, this old doctor guy, and this ridiculous boss, David Blake, overplayed by John C. McGinley.
He was great.
He's fantastic. Yeah. But, you know, like somebody took their acting pills today, right? Because there's a few scenes of him where he just lets loose. It just doesn't matter. It's just, when he finds out that this guy Alan is having like a secret conversation with MacLeod on the, oh, yes. It also includes your little video chat with MacLeod. Well, that's funny, Alan, because I thought that's exactly what happened here. You've allowed yourself to become a traitor. We have a fabulous place here for traitors. So he throws him in this like basement of the SHIELD building with like just like hay bales and rats and stuff, and they don't feed you, and there's like fans in the ceiling and stuff. I don't understand what this prison's about. It's called Max. It's like maximum security, but I don't know. So it's like you could probably find your way back out, but they just starve you so you don't have the energy to try.
I guess so. It's a place where you die at the very last second, after you give very important information.
Yes, right after the exposition. It's like, yeah, you could have lived like another year or two, but once you speak these important lines of exposition, yeah, the latitude, longitude above the shield, there's no radiation. Die.
Yeah. Otherwise, you could have just lived forever, like MacLeod.
Essentially, right? Yeah, it happens all the time. You know, it's for dramatic effect, really, and to move the plot along. Because I'll stay with you until you die. No, you don't want to do that. It could be years. Malnutrition, whatever. Just get on with the movie. Interesting shit about the whole movie being shot in Argentina. And this was great because when I watched the documentary about this movie, it's really not about this movie. It's about what it's like to be in Argentina making the movie. And they really just talk about the stakes.
Oh, really?
The steak's supposed to be so damn good.
Skirt steak.
The studio interference, and when they were in Buenos Aires, and Lambert was out clubbing almost every night, so he couldn't do any daytime shoots because he was hungover. And somebody tried to swindle him financially, and
really?
They reinvest his money from the movie, and they were like fake businessmen. I think somebody tried to sell Sean Connery a mansion at like an exorbitant price, and he's like, "Oh, I have that kind of money. It's okay, I'll buy it." And he just did this movie. Really, he didn't have to do this movie. He's already Sir Sean Connery. But we get more of the plot now. So you get the flashback, if it is a flashback to 1999 or something like that, when Prince was making records and stuff, and the ozone shield that we need to build to protect the Earth. And so Lambert is waiting for Sean Connery to show up. Meanwhile, Michael Ironside comes to our present day city or whatever it is. He lands in a train, and he operates the train really fast and makes the G-forces, pop people's eyes out, and the entire bunch of passengers are just like crashing into the back car. This is great! He's just being crazy, kind of like trying to be the Kurgan.
Yeah, the train was going... What was the last
700 miles per hour.
700 miles an hour.
Essentially,
a train.
Yeah. Right, and it just keeps going through stations without another... You know how many times I've heard, we have train traffic in front of us. We will be moving shortly. Right. You can't go 700 miles an hour down a train tunnel for like 10 minutes and not crash into 50 trains ahead of you.
And there was no like sound barrier that they busted through also.
They could have. How fast do you have to go to get there?
If you go 700 miles an hour, you're busting through a sound barrier.
Okay. Yeah, so. There was still audio in the movie at that point, so I know it's not realistic at all.
We'll have to look that up or ask David.
Yes.
Carlos.
I don't know if we have time for a science check this episode, but it's good to know. We could ask him about that, but then, this episode will be a few hours long instead of just one. But I welcome that input next time around. Well, we'll talk. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. So, Ironside's in town, yes. And the shield, when we see how it's created, it's kind of like they just shoot this big laser up into the sky and it spreads all over the earth and it makes this bubble. And I think that technology was ripped off from the Gungans in Star Wars Episode 1.
Oh.
Because Jar Jar Binks had that. They put that big purple shield up and the attackers couldn't get their lasers through.
Well, that's like Wakanda also.
It is like Wakanda. Yeah, I think they stole it from them. Oh, God, but this came out way before any of those other movies. Totally. So this is the original one.
Wow, Highlander 2 is like it was the pioneer
that technology,
of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's right. That technology was invented in Zeist.
The Zeitgeist of Zeist.
I mean, but with all these special effects and shit, it doesn't really feel like a Highlander movie. It kind of makes me miss just bagpipes and kilts. That's really all I wanted. Make it Scottish, It's like it's losing the plot basically, and then we just gotta put up with.
There's a plot.
There is. I think there is. It's really about the ozone layer. I'm sure it was like an environmentally aimed film trying to help us preserve the ozone layer, so we don't have to have bad movies like this.
Yeah. I'm sure there was some sort of social cause message.
I guess there was.
Yeah, basically, don't make money, don't make movies,
don't make movies, and wear a lot of sunblock.
Yeah.
We have that scene with the sunburn ward where everybody's dying and of the radiation, and he builds a shield, and there's a shield on the earth, and this corporation is running it. But Ironside is in town. He doesn't care about the shield or anything. He just wants to kill MacLeod. So he just goes to this mystery building, this really tall building with a statue of some kind of like saint holding a sword. So I don't know why he goes there, but it seems like a good building for Highlanders to go fight in. And he just goes there. He goes to the top, goes to the balcony, goes, "I'm waiting, MacLeod. I'm waiting."
It's just cinematic.
And MacLeod hears him. Because, a couple of days later, he walks over to the building, he goes in, and they have a fight scene. But I don't know what this building is or what its significance is. And no matter how many times you re-edit this film, it still doesn't make any sense.
I think it's just that statue, the guard with the sword.
Right, it's like,
It's just like...
People fight with swords in here. That's where I'm going. MacLeod will follow me.
But I know pop culture terms like first-round draft pick.
That's right.
And
it's definitely not Kansas.
Yeah, when he shows up, you've never been to Earth before, assuming you came from Zeist. Unless you got Kansas in Zeist. But to his credit, there is a city somewhere in this world, I forgot where, there is a city called Zeist in somewhere in Europe, somewhere in Europe or Spain somewhere. Yeah, it's true. So I'm sure that was the inspiration behind the planet. But yeah, Ironside knows all this crap. At least 3 times in the movie, he makes these kind of references that how would you know that unless you've been living among us for years?
Plus also they speak English.
They do.
On Zeist.
Apparently. I know.
Well, American English.
The only movie where they really did something cool with the language, even though it was a shit movie also, was Battlefield Earth with John Travolta.
Yeah.
Because they're speaking this gibberish, and he plugs this thing into the guy's head, and then it just translates the gibberish to English. But the way they do it, it's okay, I get it. You aliens are speaking a tongue that we can't understand. And the only reason to stick English in the movie, it's plausible. All right? You make it sensible in that one way.
It's a translator saying...
Right.
And they've been saying, "Get me out of this damn platform, boots."
Mm-hmm.
That's what they've been saying.
That's the only way he could be that tall and imposing. But back to Zeist, Highlander 2. There's a few fight scenes with MacLeod and Katana. I think he uses a katana. When Sean Connery finally gets to MacLeod's house, they have a brief little friendly, "Oh, nice to see you again," sword fight. And MacLeod shows him all these things, like the planet Earth with the little red bubble around it. "You built this monstrosity, MacLeod?" "Yeah, I had nothing better to do. That was the prize. You put the Earth inside a big bubble. Your time is now." And he smashes it. "That sculpture." He's worried about him breaking everything in his house. "That's an antique. You know how many years old that is?"
And you're talking about the globe.
The globe, yes. It's just an Earth globe with a little red balloon around it. Right. And Ramirez smashes it. "We need to move the plot along this way." So they move the plot along. So they have to break into the stronghold of S.H.I.E.L.D. Corporation control, whatever. Because in the beginning of the movie, Virginia Madsen and her friends got in there by ziplining down a dam, like a waterfall, and they stick a little microchip into the S.H.I.E.L.D. thing to check the reading. It's like a thermometer. It's kind of like a pregnancy test, and they just stick it in there. It's negative. There you go. Thank you for that. So this is when they break in again, and they have to go, and while they're going in there, like, they get shot up by machine guns. Like, MacLeod and Ramirez get shot up like 100 or so times, and they take the bullets. And, you know, for Sean Connery getting paid $3.5 million for 9 days, he still had to have a bunch of squibs attached and blow up on him. It's like, oh, these squibs hurt! He's getting shot up. But they have great comic chemistry, and it's really great, the two of them together. It doesn't matter how stupid the movie is, because you just love them both. And then their banter and everything. Yeah. They have a good history together. Yeah. And they get Virginia Madsen out of the trunk. They smuggle her in, and it's kind of like they go find the doctor, Alan guy, MacLeod's friend, and he dies like one moment after giving the last bit of dialogue they need. Like, where do I go to see if the shield is still? You go above the shield, you know, to this. You go to this little mountain peak, and you go up there. It's like, oh, it's so nice up here, and the sun is shining, and the sky is blue, and I'm not dying. So they have to go back down with Michael Ironside chasing them and like climbing on top of their van and fighting for like no reason. You know, there's an extended cut with more fights than necessary without swords. Like, he left his sword. So, but he still wants to fight MacLeod and kill the girl, and he doesn't kill her. But he's always on their tail. And he's hanging out with David Blake there. The best scene in the movie really is when he walks into their meeting. Hi. Oh, I think I've had enough of you. And they shoot him a bunch of times. And he gets back up. And he takes a guy's skull and he rips it open. Breaks every tooth and bone in his jaw. And he does, partners. I want the Highlander. He goes, can we get on that Highlander thing right away? Yes. What would you like to do next? Partner. Great shit, man. It's so comical. Where do I sign up? You done with the drum rolls? Man, I don't have anything funny. I don't have anything else. I don't have any jokes. I'm just quoting now. I'm just doing quotes.
I'm at the ready.
Oh yeah, no, don't do that, man. Just let it come natural, man. We'll put the drums in later. God. So what else? Who's alive? Who's dead? All right. So yeah. So I don't know why. Every time Ironside fails to kill MacLeod, he goes back to the office because the office is really nice. It's got these fans and this light. Nice. It looks like Blade Runner, like Ridley Scott kind of lighting and very noirish, and it's cool up there. But he just hangs around like breaking these little glass balls and things, and then eventually he breaks John C. McGinley's balls and throws them out the window. He says, "Looks as if you fucked up, partner." Do you really think so? Well, out the window, dead. It's funny as hell. But we really don't need him. He's kind of useless, as is, you know, Ironside, despite all of his hammy acting. And I'll tell you another thing about Ironside. I read this too. Everybody hated the script, and Ironside just figured, like, you know, if I'm going to be in this piece of shit movie, I might as well just play it as over the top as I can and be the most memorable thing in it. And he thinks he's succeeded. Smart. He's right, though. Yeah, just play it to the fucking hilt. Because as bad as the movie is, the performances are like unmatchable.
Yeah, just have fun with it.
It was fun, and even Connery too. I mean, Connery had a blast making this movie. Every scene he's in is really fun.
Yeah.
Makes us miss him even more. But the last scene with him, of course, when they go to the prison and they try to bust out the doctor, but it's too late. He's dead. They have to get out of the cells, and they go into this room, and they get locked in the room, and there's this big fan on the ceiling spinning around, and like, what the fuck is this? And Lambert is like, holy shit! What? You still have Bond villains looking for you and trying to get rid of you? There's still Bond villains building these stupid contraptions to kill you? I don't know, MacLeod. I've never seen it before. And this fan is like, foo, foo, foo. It's like one of those Batman things. You know, the end of Batman, like, holy, this won't be a breeze for Batman. How will he escape? Tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Bing! Right? It's so stupid. So this big giant fan is spinning, and they keep crouching and crouching. It's like, you can't help me this time. And he gives you this big spiel about, you know, if you summon up all of your energy into one time and one place and one paycheck, you can achieve something glorious. And he makes it go away. He hit a bagpipe. And they get out, and it's like, will I ever see you again? Yeah, who knows, Highlander, if the money's right. It's over. No, I'll never do one of these pieces of shit again. But maybe The Rock. Yeah, I'll see you in Alcatraz. Yeah, how many great Connery movies came along afterwards? We could talk about him too later, after we're done with this shit. But that was just nice to have him. It was like his Obi-Wan Kenobi moment. Like, you know, totally. He sacrifices himself. Yeah. But it was much more emotional when Kurgan got him in the first movie.
Oh, totally.
Because you really felt that shit, and like it was so sad afterwards.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, because the character development was way different in the first one, you know.
No, this one they were already pals, and they were already having a great time, and it's fun, and like you know he shouldn't even be here in the first place, so you're just grateful to see him. So when he gets killed off or whatever, eliminated in this movie, it's just like, well, okay, I guess. There's like another MacGuffin to not explain.
It just doesn't make sense, Mike.
It doesn't make any sense at all. But, and you don't see his head get chopped off either. It just kind of like flashes, and just that the fan hits the ground.
Yeah.
But it's so James Bond. I think that was like some leftover shit from Moonraker or something. I don't know. That shouldn't have happened. But they had one, just in case you got to air out this empty chamber for no reason.
So they're crossing Bond? Because that was like Roger Moore.
That was very Bondy. I don't know. It's like, Goldfinger never had one of those. This would chop off my head before my nuts.
I expect you to die.
Gosh, but very slowly. And all we had to do was like pull the plug. I don't know, the laser. I don't know. That'd be really good if Bond was wearing like silver sequined underwear. So like when the laser does hit his balls, it would reflect back and blow up the laser.
Right.
See, that's what Q would have given him.
Yeah.
Now pay attention, 007. You trust your life into these. You value your bollocks. You're going to wear this every day of your life. Yeah. Okay, Q.
Stop busting my ball.
What for your shake, Q? Okay. That's one gadget that would have worked. So after that thing, when he goes away, when there's no more Sean Connery, the movie needs to end now, because without him, what are we watching for anyway? So we gotta see the final showdown. Like, nobody's left alive, really. So how do you bring down the shield? There's only one way to bring down the shield. There can be only one. So the only way to get rid of the shield, because I guess apparently it would cause this massive power failure across the planet if you just turn it off. Nobody ever explained why that is. You just like flick it off. So instead, MacLeod has to go have a quickening or go fart inside the shield column. I don't know. It's like this big column of light. So he's going to go to the shield and try to switch it off. But of course, Michael Ironside is hiding behind it. And he's like doing a sword fight again.
He says hi.
No, he doesn't say hi again this time. He only says it like one time.
I'm sorry.
He says that. That's very cute. Sorry. MacLeod twirls his sword. Yeah, I wish Kurgan showed up again. He was going to be in there. Like, he didn't want to do the movie.
No way.
They were going to get him to be in one of those Zeist scenes. Or they were going to explain, like, that Kurgan was supposed to kill MacLeod because Katana sent him. Like, Katana's like the big, leader of all the bad guys, but he's not. Kurgan is. So, Ironside is there. They have a pretty short fight. And one thing about the fighting, if this wasn't already mentioned, Lambert had terrible eyesight.
Oh, yeah?
He wears glasses almost all the time. So doing these sword fights with real swords was a terrible idea. And they only learned that after he nearly severed a finger.
Oh, shit.
And Ironside got, knocked on the jaw. And there was a lot of injuries. So okay. Plastic swords for everyone. We'll make it look real. You got to sell it now, guys. You got to sell it. Then we're using real fucking swords with terrible eyesight. And the first shot, they did, I almost lost my thumb.
Okay, he's probably like, all right, now it's the stunt driving scene.
Yes. Oh gosh, there shouldn't be any stunts. At least not with people who can't see and have swinging swords around. But they have a nice, decent fight at the end. Of course, Ironside loses the fight. It looks a little bit like the Kurgan battle in the first one, the way they light it and they shoot it. And it's not as long because we've had enough of it already. It's like, we know. Cling, cling, cling.
Yeah.
We know who's going to win. Lambert chops off Ironside's head. So we'll see it again in some other movie, I hope.
Yep.
And then he steps into the light. It's like Tron. He goes in there and he holds up the Frisbee.
He holds up the DVDs of this movie. Please take it. Somebody just destroy it.
That's what he should have done, man. Just take it. Oh, yeah, it's very good. The DVD of Highlander 2, every single copy into the light. And just fucking blow up the shield, blow up the satellite. Millions of dollars, but who cares? It's gone. And then we see a clear, starry night, pinholes in the curtain of night. Yes, that's what I was talking about, the crowd. So we see that the sky is good. There's no problem with the radiation. The ozone is back. Everybody's happy. You can start using hairspray again. Smoking. And it's a happy ending, sort of. They just run away and they get out. And it's kind of over. But there was some really terrible, cheesy alternate endings shot for this movie. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Did you know that there's a really bad version where at the end of the movie, MacLeod runs off into...
there's a bad version.
There's an even worse version. Okay. Yes. Even worse than you could possibly imagine. Yeah. No, there's one where, MacLeod runs off into the grass there at nighttime outside the Shield building, and he's like, I have to go back to Zeist now. And he floats up into the air, and there's all this, sparkling shit around him, and Virginia Madsen goes let me come with you. And it, reaches down to her, and they fly away like Peter Pan and fucking Tinkerbell back to Zeist. Back to Zeist. No, not like Grease. That's in a car, at least. This is flying on a little beam of light, and they twinkle off into space. That's really horrible, and it's as if you couldn't make this movie any worse. But thank God that's not in there.
I have more respect for the movie if that was in there.
Well, you can watch that version if you want to. I have it. But you really don't want to see it. It's horrible, man. And of course, you're still here, use your power wisely, or whatever Ramirez says, most people have a full measure of life. And most of them make shit films like this one. But at least I got paid for it. Thank you, Russell. Good old Sean. But after this movie, there were more Highlanders, but there was no more Ramirez, no more Sean Connery.
He wised up.
Let's just go through a brief history of the future Highlanders.
Do we have to?
We should.
Okay.
Just for a moment, because I'm not going to do podcasts about them.
Okay.
Unless I watch them.
Let's do it now.
Unless I watch them again and they're that god-awful that they demand a podcast.
Yeah.
But no, there was, what happened after that? Oh, well, in 1992, there was a TV series of Highlander. But, like, Lambert didn't really want to be involved in it. He was in the pilot episode.
He was in the pilot, yeah.
And then we got Adrian Paul as Duncan MacLeod.
His cousin.
Sort of, yeah, because we had lots of cousins, in Highlands.
Yeah.
And, of course, there was no quickening. There was no prize. There's just more Highlanders. Everybody's a fucking immortal now. Everybody.
Yeah, Richard Mall
was the bad guy.
Night Court. He's like, what should I do? I think I'm going to be immortal.
He could play bad guys. Yeah, Richard Mall was like the other go-to big, tall, bald baddie of a lot of movies, which I love. So he was okay in there. And there was a couple other good characters over the years. And Highlander, the series, was on for at least 2 or 3 seasons. And it really wasn't that bad.
Second Smash season?
It was, second Smash week on television, but it had, like, good people in it, man. Fucking Roger Daltrey was in there as another immortal. So who? Yeah.
No, it's more like why?
Yeah, why? The why. Man, what was I doing? Well, I think after, like, after Keith Moon died, what else are you going to do? It was awesome. Roger Daltrey was great in that. And we thought there were going to be a whole bunch of rock stars on that show. I was reading, like, that they had a whole bunch of rock stars that wanted to be on Highlander. And, like, each week you get, like, a different villain. Like, I heard, like, fucking Axl Rose was going to be on. And maybe, like, Bowie. Like, I don't know. But all we ever got was Roland Gift from Fine Young Cannibals.
Oh, right.
And he was good, but, like, he got his hand chopped off. I was like, he ran away. Then he comes back with his claw later on. Like, another Bond villain bullshit thing. He has his fucking claw.
Where did he get the claw?
I don't know. He's like that guy in Dr. No. Or like Dr. No. Whatever.
Okay.
There's always this Bondy stuff. But they had a couple of great episodes. There was one where they had a fight on a defunct roller coaster. Like, it's some really great ideas of where to fight. And I would always watch it just for that. And, like, occasionally you'd see some cool quickenings and, like, some more tin cans going bling, bling,
Yeah, but Lambert was in the pilot, and he dies in the pilot. Spoiler alert.
I don't think he does. He just walks away into the sunset.
No, he dies because he and his cousin Duncan, one of them has to survive to fight Richard Mall.
You are getting it confused with the movie.
Oh, yeah. I'm skipping ahead.
You're skipping ahead.
You're right.
Wrong. So anyway, now let's carry on with the Highlander. Because, all right, after the freaking series, 1994, Highlander 3, The Final Dimension, or as the fans call it, Highlander 3, The Apology. for 2 being so freaking bad. Highlander 3 was horrible. Okay.
So that's Mario Van Peebles.
Mario Van Peebles is fine. And him and Lambert were also buddies. They did movies together, which were much better, like Gunman. Really great movie with the two of them. Funny as hell. Patrick Stewart, Dennis Leary. Good movie. But Highlander 3 is like just like a rehash of the first Highlander.
Totally. Same scenes. I think they probably used the same set.
They might have, yeah. And the most ludicrous thing of all is when he retreats to Scotland just to be alone in isolation, whoever the female protagonist is in the movie, some reporter or whatever, she fucking finds him on the very hill he's standing on in the middle of the Highlands, like where there's no road signs, no map, nothing.
No, that's because Alan from the second Highlander came back from the dead, gave her the coordinates of where...
The latitude and longitude.
And then he dies again.
Okay. Well, that would explain a lot. I have to revisit that movie now with a different perspective.
Totally.
Highlander, The Final Dimension. Only it wasn't. Then it was Highlander Endgame in 2000.
Okay, this
was almost the last one.
Connor is in it?
Yeah, Connor is. This was great. This was like the greatest hits of Highlander because this is like Connor and Duncan.
Yeah.
Because some people actually like the TV show.
Right.
So you have Duncan and all of his dumb co-stars and whatever. And they're in a movie and the two MacLeods are like buddies for a while and they're fighting against Bruce Payne, who was the bad guy from Passenger 57. Only this time he has no hair and less acting chops. But again, he's like over the top, yelling every line out, trying to be very, very bad. But he's not that good. He was British, though. He was cool. He's like a priest who became an immortal because he had a bad priesthood. Or some altar boys ratted him out. Something happened.
Right.
And a couple of good fights. That movie was also re-edited a couple of times. And when you first saw the trailers for this movie, there was all this magic shit. Like, he was like a sorcerer and all these like special effects and magic. And none of it made it to the film. Like, that stuff was just shot for no reason, I guess, just to make a trailer. So the movie was also a mess. And yeah, Lambert does die. They do this special move where he gets the sword against his neck. And no matter what you do, his head will chop off. Even if you go, no, I don't want to kill you. I'm going to let go of my sword right now. If you let go, I will still die. Like, what kind of move can you come up with?
I think it's called the Sicilian defense.
It's a Sicilian defense. Like, no matter what you do, you lose the game, right? And your head comes off. I don't get it, man, but it's clever. I guess I have to study all this martial arts shit to really understand, but it's probably complete bullshit.
It's complete bullshit dope.
Right. So when Lambert dies and loses his head in that movie, then at the end, Duncan can fight even better because he got the quickening from Connor. And like at the end, when he's able to like, I know everything, I see everything, you see his face change, goes, turns into Lambert. Like you see Lambert's face on his face, like really quick. Like, yeah, something like that. It's really interesting, but it's also not a great movie.
Okay, so was there another movie after that?
I am afraid so. But I think it was this direct-to-video Highlander The Source, which also has Duncan. And as I recall, it was so horrible. I can't remember a single thing about it. It's just worthless garbage. I don't know. I hate it. Like the TV series was better. So anyway, that's enough with the Highlanders. I mean, there was talk of a remake coming along, but let's hope not.
Wow.
They'll just defile it even further. It will suck.
It's one of those movies. You should have just left it from the original. It did not need sequels.
It didn't
whatsoever.
But they were fun anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, just to get Sean Connery for one more round in that movie, despite its stupidity, I love watching him. He's great.
Yeah, and I guess it gives you an excuse to do this podcast.
Of course, and it does. And at this point, we're ready to do our tribute to Sean Connery segment of the podcast, where we'll pour some delicious Macallan Select Oak. Oh, right under the fucking microphone.
Sounds like a hobbit taking a piss.
Yeah, it does. It tastes so much. Okay, now, I mean, the drink of choice for Sir Sean would probably be vodka martini shaken not stirred. But I don't know if Ramirez was Egyptian, so I don't know if he would be drinking single malt scotch. He'd probably be drinking like Sphinx piss or something. But this is what we got, and this is we're going to drink this. And to Sir Sean Connery and his illustrious career and all the awesome movies he's given us, and all of his donations of his salary from Highlander 2 and the charity that it benefited.
To Sean.
Shush. Yes.
Cheers. Oh, that's nice. That's really nice.
Isn't it, though?
This is, for those of you at home, it's the Macallan Select Oak.
For which I am receiving no residuals.
No.
But I'm promoting, shamelessly because it's really good.
That's why you got to learn about affiliate marketing, Mike.
Yeah, I want to learn about affiliate marketing.
Yeah, this is really nice. It's dry.
It's good. It's smoky. It's vanilla-y. So tell me about your Sean Connery memories, and what are your favorites, or which are your guilty pleasure Sean Connery movies, other than this one, of course?
I mean, that's tough. But I would say, of course, the Bond films. I don't have a specific Bond film. It's just, I guess when I think of Bond, like a lot of people, I think Sean Connery.
We all do. Yeah. Well, I mean, so, I think of Timothy Dalton, but that's just me.
I was going to say, back in college, we used to watch Highlander drunk pretty much every weekend or every other weekend. We must have worn out that VHS.
But you didn't watch Highlander 2
no.
every week. You watched that like maybe once every decade or two, because like that's all you could stand it. And today was probably like your second or third time seeing it.
Yeah, that would be correct.
Oh, well, it's okay. It has its own special charm.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun movie.
It's an unnecessary movie, but again, just to see Sean Connery. I mean, he did some great stuff besides Bond. Of course, I loved The Untouchables and
oh my God, why didn't I think of that?
Gosh, always bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that entire movie was fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it. He received an Oscar for that. Somebody got something for that. Great movie there. And, of course, Professor Henry Jones and Last Crusade.
Yes.
What a wonderful addition to the cast. I mean, like, if you have to pick the best Indiana Jones movie, that's probably it. Even though Raiders is like a stone cold classic, you add Sean Connery to the mix, it just brightens everything up even further. What else did I love? Rising Sun is good. Mm-hmm. There's one or two more that I really like. And then there's some that are horrible, too. Like, I really did not like the Avengers. I mean, not the Avengers with Marvel.
Right.
The Avengers with Ray Fiennes and Uma Thurman. And it was pretty bad. He played a villain in that. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was probably his last big screen movie.
Yeah.
Which is a very ambitious film. But there was a few other Connerys. Oh, The Rock, of course, man. The Rock is like the greatest.
Rock is great.
Action, top-notch action movie. Everybody in there was just great, and he was essential to it.
And our friend Evan has a theory that his character in The Rock was actually 007.
Right, because he used to work for Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Right, and they captured him, and they put him away.
You don't think the fucking Americans could ever catch Bond and put him away, right? He must have slipped up, or Q gave him some defective gadgets, because he would have never allowed that to happen.
No, and also, like, Felix Leiter was never, like, in great shape.
He was played by so many different guys. I don't know who Felix Leiter is anymore.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he slept with the wrong American spy woman and they caught him that way. That's the only way you could catch him. Maybe like roofie his martini.
Maybe Jason Bourne captured him.
I doubt it. Maybe if he fought him. Because Bourne's got some fight moves. Well, without Sean Connery, none of these movies would be the same. And we still have to figure out who our next Bond is going to be. And I don't know who it is or if it's going to have a penis or not. It's just like we don't know who the next Bond's going to be. Whatever. We love these movies. And if there's any last words about Sean or Highlander 2, now's the time. How about Zardoz? What do you think about Zardoz?
Actually, I never saw that.
Wow, how could you never see Zardoz? That is like his Flash Gordon, all right? But it's actually not as much fun to see. I mean, Flash Gordon has like a lot of guilty pleasures about it. But yeah, Zardoz is like, it's like Dune mixed with Flash Gordon, but on half the budget. It's kind of like a must-see if you want to just see like a really, why the fuck did he do this movie? Sean Connery movie. That's the one.
It's sort of a reference to Borat in a way.
Well, yeah, because he wears the same uniform, basically. It's like a ball cup and not much else.
Right.
It's like, it has like this giant floating head going around, and I don't know. It's like, it's really weird. They have weapons in the movie, but I don't know if they're like futuristic or prehistoric, and it's got him. And it's like, what more do you need? There's a couple of other great movies that he's in. I think he plays a movie where his head gets chopped off. He's like a knight. It's one of these old movies, like one of those like King Arthur or Robin Hood type movies. I really don't know what it is. I gotta look this shit up. But of course, you remember he has the cameo at the very end of Robin Hood, yes, Prince of Thieves, as the only thing that redeems that Kevin Costner mess, other than Alan Rickman. Yeah, like that's like the best thing in that movie. And then it was echoed by Patrick Stewart in Robin Hood Men in Tights when he needed another good king. Who's going to play the king if we can't get Sean Connery? So Patrick Stewart will do it instead. He's got a similar voice. Well, good enough, man. I think we should leave on a high note and a Highlander, and I don't think we're going to do any more Highlander. We covered it all, basically, until they make another one.
They're going to. It's in the works.
We'll see it.
Yeah.
I will watch it. It better not suck. But yeah, let's finish our McAllens and toast once again to Sean Connery. And thank you all, you listeners, for checking out this podcast and putting up with it. I hope it was more enjoyable than the actual film we were discussing. So cheers, and catch you all next time around. Thank you, Dave, for being my guest again.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right. Let's stop.
Maybe I'm wrong, I should know better. Sail out to the night, lost in the shadows. Sail out to the night, lost in the loneliness. Sail out to the night.
And one very, very, very interesting story about Michael Ironside. Yeah, we're not peeking, don't worry.
No, I'm just looking.
It's good. Yeah,
It's okay.
It's just sound waves. There's nothing spectacular about the sound waves. It's what's contained in
It's fun.
It's all right. Look at those fucking sound waves. They're beautiful. See that? That one just peaked. All right. This is dumb. I have to erase it.